So, wir gehen rein.
Its different variations of pay-to-win mechanics with supply crates and DLC guns in previous installments. So it was only a matter of time before the pay-to-win experience with Gray's Warzone. So today we're going to go through the entire history of pay-to-win in...
Wenn ich jetzt überlegen müsste, was war Pay-to-Win in Warzone bis jetzt? Es gab ein paar, ich glaube ein Visier in Warzone 2 bei Ranked, das war extrem Pay-to-Win.
I'm only including items from the premium battle pass or the store itself, so that means no DLC guns will be on this list since those are free to everyone, but just might take you a little bit longer than those who pay for it. Go ahead and comment the most pay-to-win feature we've ever seen in Warzone as we get started. Also, my allergies are getting the best of me, so my voice is a little off this video, so I apologize in advance. I think this was the very...
Oh, never mind. Das war wirklich Pay-to-Win. Ich glaube, es war Season 2. Season 2 Battle Pass, der Rose Skin, der war so unsicher. Du hast ihn nicht gesehen.
Very first example of pay-to-win in Warzone and was a camper's dream. In Season 4 of Modern Warfare 19, which is pretty much the first season of Warzone, the Rose Skin was available at Tier 100. The skin was notorious for being extremely dark in an already not very vibrant map.
Speziell damals, so viele haben noch Konsole gespielt. Und jetzt halt auch immer noch. Du siehst die Leute nicht.
Rose also gained the reputation as a sweat skin in Warzone,
der steht da hinten rechts, oder? Ja, man sieht's
nicht. Was abused by corner campers because it essentially granted you invisibility. There would be many times where you would
Das Ding ist, glaube ich, auch, Rose ist 5-mal genervt worden oder so. Oder hast du den immer noch nicht gesehen?
You from a Rose skin corner camper and still not even see the Rose skin while they're actively shooting you. They eventually nerfed the skin to make it a little more vibrant, and it helped a little bit, but was still advantageous nonetheless. I mean, seriously, these before and afters, there's like barely a difference. Regardless if you want to believe it or not, I firmly believe that this was a subtle marketing tactic to drive up your battle pass sales, since you have a very sought after skin to be rewarded with, and at level 100 at that.
Mac 10 Damage. Ah! Bros, also das stimmt. In der Season, als die Mac rauskam, gab es den Blueprint, der irgendwie so viel mehr Damage gemacht hat. No way.
Blueprints have been a very interesting concept to Warzone and do a good job of creating exclusive camos and effects for specific guns without changing any core stats of the gun itself. Wrong. The MAC-10 got a gallantry blueprint that was pretty mid at best as far as the aesthetic, but when tested was dealing significant more damage than the base MAC-10. The headshot damage was a whole 10 points higher, which
Bro, wie Jagot damals noch aussah in seinem alten Setup.
Chain reacted limb, chest and neck damage to also be way higher. To put in perspective how broken this was,
und das war ja damals noch, als die Time to Kill noch unfassbar niedrig war.
Shooting someone in the pinky toe with this blueprint was the same as shooting someone in the head with the base MAC-10. That means that every single one of your shots, at least, was going to do the same damage a headshot was going to do on a normal MAC-10. And if you're hitting anything but limbs, you were doing more damage than a normal headshot would do. So yeah, guaranteeing the shortest TTK ever with the MAC-10, no matter where you're hitting. That moment you have with an SMG hitting mostly headshots, deleting your opponent is satisfying, and using this blueprint was pretty much always having a moment like that. And we all know the MAC-10 was a very broken meta SMG in the first place, and even after a handful of nerfs was still pretty viable throughout the rest of Warzone. But
wenn ich das Gameplay sehe, die Cold War Zeit von Verdansk war schon einfach schön. Muss man sagen.
See the light of day definitely gave it an extremely undeserved comeback.
Boah, DMZ Zombie Pay to Win. Warzone 2.
If I'm being honest, I've loaded up DMZ like once ever since it launched.
Habe ich wirklich, also DMZ habe ich wirklich einmal gespielt.
But this mode is almost completely pay to win after doing research for this video. Pay to win may be a stretch. It's honestly more of like a pay to convenience yourself and kind of expedite things. And what I mean by that is there is a ton of operators and blueprints that give you an inherent advantage in your gameplay. There are smaller things such as spawning with a 2-plate carrier or self-revive.
Okay, man spawnt mit zweier Plattenweste und mit dem Rucksack.
Other things that I think are a little egregious, such as spawning in with a medium backpack or a whole UAV at your disposal. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like unlimited UAVs, which like, I don't know how that's not pay to win. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but that just sounds ridiculous. Regardless, that is absolutely without a doubt spawning in with an advantage that you paid for. Then there's also added effect for weapon blueprints that'll give it a reduced cooldown so you can use it again like right after deploying. Like most of them are like 15 minutes, where normally it's like at least an hour, most of the time like 2 to 3 hours, I think. Then there's the active duty operator slots, which you only have 3 by default, and the only way to get more is by buying op.
Also es ist ja wirklich, ich wusste gar nicht, dass da so viel Pay-to-Win drin steckt in dem Set.
I'm not even kidding, when you're in the active operator menu, the other slots are literally locked behind a paywall. Like this is straight up, takes you to the store and everything to unlock these slots, which is just another advantage. It would be different if in DMZ it was strictly PvE, but since you can go head to head with others, I find this pretty lame. Modern Warfare 3 Zombies has a similar pay to win features as well, which is also cringe, but that's really all just PvE. So at that point, it's kind of gives me like mobile game vibes. Like if you just want to speed up the process, go ahead and throw some money for these little like boosts. Like really, that's not really doing much harm. Whereas in DMZ, in theory, you can always spawn in with a UAV, use that UAV right when you start, and go hunt another team which doesn't have a UAV and kill them off rip, which is just shit.
DMZ ist wirklich so eigene Welt, glaube ich.
Shameless.
Auch so generell. Headscore 800 Optik, ist das Damascus Heat Bundle? Ja, ich glaube, das ist dieses eine Visier, welches ich meine.
Thermal sights haven't really seen much viability since the
Das war in
old days
Warzone
of
2
Warzone,
Rank, glaube ich.
where the
Das hat
thermal
wirklich
sniper
jeder used
optics in that
gefühlt.
game will let you see anyone from any range, and then until they got nerfed. Well, the Damascus Heat Tracer pack gave you a variable of the heat source 800,
ja, genau.
which was probably still the best thermal sniper optic we've seen since the launch of Warzone 1. The blue dot not only felt like it was crystal clear and also kind of removed clutter from the scope, but the enemies seemed to show up a lot more and carry a lot more vibrancy with them.
Ja, stimmt,
I'm actually
stimmt.
colorblind, so I'm not sure if I'm the one who should be having strong opinions about this, but to me it seems like a noticeable difference, and for some people could definitely
Stimmt, also in Ranked haben so viele Leute auch diese ganzen Visiere gespielt. Merlin the Dog Finishing. Ah, ja doch. Es gab ja so viel, dieser Hund. Stimmt.
So with Season 5, they added a dog finisher, and that dog's name is Merlin. Well, Merlin comes with an added perk in the form of a buffed version of High Alert, which is probably one of the most popular perks in the entire game. We all know the High Alert pings your screen from wherever someone is looking at you, but the one time it doesn't do this is when someone's right in front of you, or obviously when someone's using cold blood. Well, with Merlin equipped as your finisher, that's right, this is the only finisher on this list. Whenever someone in front of you aims at you, you'll get a bark from Merlin. I'll be honest, I didn't even see the guy aiming at him until I rewatched that video like 3 times. If this was me in this scenario, had Merlin not barked, I would never have known someone.
Das heißt, immer, sobald du angeschaut wirst mit diesem Hund, bellt dieser Hund. Das ist halt crazy.
In front of me, which is a common occurrence in Warzone. In Warzone, the map is huge and it's easy to miss players, and High Alert going up to 100 meters is a considerable distance, especially when it's right in front of you. This is especially useful for when people are using sniper optics that don't have glint. The only downside to this perk is that the dog is audible to other players, and with that results in enemies being able to hear it, which could give away your position maybe. But I would argue that the benefit is far greater than the negative here, making it a true pay-to-win item. I don't even know if you can still use this in Warzone 3. I know all items transferred from Modern Warfare 2, so unless they change this behavior, you can still use this. But someone comment if you can still use this or not.
Asset Holotherm. Dark Return. Ist das nicht eine... Okay, das Asset Holotherm gibt es, glaube ich, als Standardvisier, aber es gibt eine Variante aus dem...
Alongside the Merlin dog in Season 5, we also got the Dark Rituals Tracer Pack, which came with the blueprint for the Cronin Squall. Also in this Tracer Pack, literally every element about the DMZ pay-to-win is present here. We got like the free...
DMZ wieder alles reingepaytert. Irgendwie komplett Pay-to-Win DMZ.
Like the weapon cooldowns, literally all of it's going on here. Just thought that was kind of funny. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the SZ Holotherm that was part of the blueprint. Now, we've already discussed how useless thermals have been since Warzone 1, but if you were going to use any thermal sight on an AR, it was going to be this one. It was honestly decently clean, and since Warzone 2 is really heavy on the
Aber das ist die Standardvariante, glaube ich. Das ist die Standardvariante. Und das Holotherm aus dem...
Deswegen Dark Rituals Holotherm, the optic was just flat out better. I'll just let this comparison...
Ja, dadurch, dass es halt rot ist es halt schon cleaner, glaube ich. Ist jetzt nicht unfassbar Pay-to-Win, aber man sieht halt schon den Gegner gefühlt wie als hätte man Wallhacks oder so.
Speak for itself. I mean, it's really easy to tell. I can't really pinpoint why this looks so good other than the Dark Rituals actually filling out their character model, whereas the regular one just kind of shows an outline.
Ich glaube, das liegt einfach am Rotstich.
Aside from the players popping, the overall look when you're looking at the map and other objects, pretty much when you're aiming at anything that's not a player.
Ich glaube, dadurch, dass der Kontrast mit diesem Grau und dem Rot halt besser ist, ja. Ist schon minimal Pay-to-Win.
And then even on top of that, when someone's using cold-blooded, the Dark Rituals Holotherm pretty much gets nerfed to like the regular Holotherm, whereas the regular Holotherm gets completely useless. Similar story here, not sure if you can still use this or if they nerfed it or changed it whatsoever, but this is probably really good if you're going for a nuke.
Du, nein. Was passiert jetzt?
I already know that the Doom shotgun bundle had no attachment or characteristic that you couldn't do with the normal Lockwood 300, but I feel like it was worth mentioning since it played a heavy role in bringing
ich bin so oft auf Bundle von diesem Teil hier geholt worden.
Also didn't tell you what attachments were being used.
Und ich weiß auf jeden Fall, theoretisch war es natürlich dasselbe so, aber dieses Teil war auf jeden Fall besser als die
and just took over your shotgun without telling you
Shotgun-Variante.
that the dual trigger was the reason for the one shot. So regardless if it was pay to win or not, people were definitely convinced it was pay to win, and many bought this for that sole reason. Also, on a side note, this is probably one of my favorite blueprints because Doom is awesome and these animations are sick.
Groot, oh.
The Groot skin was introduced towards the end of Warzone 2's life cycle, but it is arguably even worse than the Rose skin.
Einfach Rose 2.0. Speziell auf Al-Mazrah. Die Farbe und so, das war
being
crazy.
Really hard to see, what I thought was different about this is that it was like just overall smaller, it felt. Now I know the hitbox stays the exact same, but that doesn't exactly make it easier for the player to hit them when your brain is still going to want to shoot at what's visible. I know there's a ton of people out there who think that its hitbox was actually smaller, but there's little to no evidence to support this, so that's just like not a
man
thing.
sieht ihn einfach
Anyways,
nicht.
if you were playing when this dropped, it was pretty awful time to be around, and eventually they took it out of the game and they gave it kind of a rework similar to what they did with the Rose skin. Only this time I do think it was like really dramatic. Instead of just updating on the spot like they did with Rose, they had to completely vault the skin from the game, so that's how you know it was just really bad.
Allerdings, oh. Stimmt. Also ich wusste nicht, dass Warzone 2 so viel Pay-to-Win-Sachen hatte. Also irgendwie habe ich auch dieses ganze Game Warzone 2 Al-Mazrah, obwohl eigentlich Al-Mazrah an sich gut war, irgendwie komplett verdrängt. Das war echt bodenlos.
We've had aside from Goot would probably the LA Thieves skin. Pretty much the same idea with the whole blacked out getup.
Der sah aber auch wild aus. Hätten sie den so gelassen,
Don't want to go too in depth because we've already
natürlich
talked
war
about
OP, aber
skins being OP. They eventually added like
das war
super
schon
vibrant
nice.
red straps to the backpacks. They made the logo even brighter, and like also like the goggles, which is just the right way to nerf these kinds of skins. Gonna go ahead and give Black Noir an honorable mention here, even though I don't think it's all that bad, especially when compared to the other ones on this list. Just figured I'd lump it in here while we're talking about it.
Spare Ribs, was passiert
If I'm
jetzt?
being honest, I think this one is a stretch, but if used correctly, it puts you at an advantage, I guess. The Spare Ribs trace.
Das war schon OP, muss man sagen. Speziell dadurch, dass man halt die Ironside-Variante spielen konnte.
Pack, which was applicable to the LSW and the WSP9, which as of me recording this are very much so in the meta right now. The blueprint is translucent and allowed the player to see more on their screen than usual, but to me it was only really good if you were using iron sights, and well, since your gun was transparent, it was kind of...
Das war halt OP. Mit der Waffe, die E0 Rückschuss hat. Komplett.
Hard to use the iron sights. The only real way to fix this was by using a camo to brighten it up, and at that point I think you're kind of defeating the purpose of using the blueprint in the first place. But there's a lot of people right now who are kind of like swearing up and down that this is pay to win and just like a really broken mechanic, which I...
Das ist schon OP, wenn man hier guckt, man hat halt links und rechts schon eine Sicht. Das hast du halt, wenn du Ironside gespielt hast, sonst nicht gehabt.
I don't know if I'd ever go that far. There's also a handful of other blueprints like this, but this is the one that's kind of just like all the rage right now, so I figured I'd talk about it.
XP-Skins, stimmt, das vergesse ich immer wieder.
Now we're at modern day, where the new pay-to-win trend has been releasing operators that have an added double XP effect if you're playing with friends using the same skin. The more you're playing with, the more it goes up, all the way up to double XP. Now usually...
Wait. Das wusste ich, also ich wusste, dass man für die Skins XP bekommt. Wait, was steht da? Get double XP and double weapon XP when you play together in parties of at least 2 players. Oh yeah.
The more it goes up, all the way up to double XP. Now, usually when I'm playing Warzone, it's with a full squad. Like, you will rarely catch me solo queuing. So that means that whenever I'm playing, I can pretty much always have double XP. And this marketing tactic is so clever that me and my friends bought the web skin the second it dropped. I mean, I can't even blame them here because you're getting 4 variations of the same skin that just look ridiculous. And it gives you double XP, so that's just free money for Activision. But it kind of like defeats the charm of like ranking up and kind of like grinding your guns. And really like, it used to feel like you had to really just go for it, and now that's kind of just like stripped away. I really don't think this is like a crazy pay-to-win scheme. It's kind of...
Also man muss halt sagen, ich glaube jedes Event, was Call of Duty hat, da kommt ja mindestens ein Skin, der nochmal EP für dieses Event oder so gibt, oder mehr EP.
More like a pay-to-convenience thing,
aber
like I was
keine
talking
Ahnung.
about before. But I can still see why this is
Ist
sour
halt...
for other people.
Was habe ich da gerade gesehen? VPN.
This is honestly a really stupid entry on here because it really has nothing to do with Activision or Raven or like Warzone at all. This is all external. But if it's what it's come to, it's kind of like highlighting how skill-based matchmaking kind of ruined COD, and COD should maybe like go back to the way things were. Also, I've never used a VPN, but if that's your thing, I mean, so be it. I'm not gonna stop you. Just don't lie about it. Really just putting this in here for the meme of it. But that's every pay-to-win item in Warzone history.
Ja, VPN schon, also VPN eigentlich schon theoretisch auch Pay-to-Win. Man zahlt dafür, dass man bessere Lobbys hat.
Let me
Meistens.
know if you think these are actually pay to win or if I missed anything on this list. And
Haben wir irgendwas vergessen? Also gab es noch irgendwas, was Pay to Win war? Ich weiß es nicht. Also ich würde sagen, das meiste wurde eigentlich abgedeckt. Auch sehr gutes Video. Sehr, sehr gutes Video.
again, with the whole voice, I'm sorry if I sound disinterested here. I promise. Like, I was actually really excited to make this video. If it's your first time here, I promise I don't normally sound like this. But check out some of my other Warzone videos.
Auf jeden Fall guter Kanal. Ich glaube, da werden wir öfters demnächst auch mal drauf reagieren.